Matthew Moore's Wood Studio. Today is Thursday, June 7th, which means it's time for another weekly shop update. What's been going on in the shop this week? Well, a lot. First thing you can tell is the tabletop is no longer here and the base is instead. So the tabletop is actually behind my table saw in between where the jointer planer combo machine is and my bandsaw and my lathe. I'm just running out of space here. So I had to move it out of the way to be able to get to work on this guy here. And the reason for that is I want to take this out of the shop. But before we get to talking about what I've been doing with this week, let me tell you that you guys need to check out the latest episode of the Matt and Matthew Show, where we do a shop tour of the Unplugged Wood Shop. So I'll have a link up here for that, as well as in the description. It's a fun one. It's a pretty cool place. Let's talk about this bad boy here. You've seen it before, but now it's 100% ready and prepped for finish. So let me walk you through that process. The first thing I did was I started to surface prep the posts. Now the posts are really interesting because you can very easily surface prep these wide 4-inch wide sections of it, but here on the edges, that you have to be very careful about. So I have a quick tip right here about protecting your surfaces with blue tape, and what that covers is here I did surface prep in between the joinery. Now the width of the post is within thousandths of an inch wider than the width of the bridal joinery for the mortise section, or actually the tenon section on the upper supports for the tabletop. And I don't want to take too much material away when I'm surface prepping here. So I actually stay completely away from the joinery section for both the top and the bottom. And then instead come back later and use some blue tape to clean that up. So check out that quick tip about that. So once I finished doing my surface prep here, I turned my attention to the surface prep on the feet. Now on the feet, I'm able to surface prep the entire piece. Now I'd already done some work before, so all I really had to do was take care of the sides, sand the end grain up through the grits to 320, and set that aside. And then I came over and I wanted to deal with these guys up here, the table supports. Now there's holes on each side of them, so 4 holes in total for each. Well, 4 holes in total, 2 pieces each. And these holes here are 1 inch in diameter. And on the other side, when the tabletop gets set down, there's another set of holes that match perfectly. So first I drilled these, I transferred the center using the force member I drilled with the next piece, and then I used a tapered bit to drill out the next holes. And the reason for that is there's going to be a tapered dowel that's going to start here, go all the way through as it gets smaller, and that'll be put in after the table is dropped on top. Remember, this is a trestle base, so everything has to come apart. The leg assemblies are now one piece, the trestle is one piece, and the tabletop is one piece, and all gets held together. Then I was able to, just like before, get these nice and surface prepped and take care of the ends over here and sand those up to a really nice finish. These go to 320 instead of ending at 220 like the rest of this. Now, as you see in the videos, I'm using a plane, and then I come in and I hand sand everything to 220. That's because I'm sanding everywhere else. I want it all sanded surfaces, not a mixture of different types of surfaces. So with all that done, then I could round over the edges. So at the router table with an 1/8 inch round over bit, I rounded over the edges on the post, the feet, and table supports. But for the table supports, I can only round over the bottom section because we want a nice, flush surface here to meet the tabletop. On the feet, I could round over the tops and the ends, but not the bottom. The bottom instead I chamfered. And that is because I don't want, with the feet are being moved, to have any blowout. So I have a nice chamfer all the way around the foot pads, and that continues up the length of the foot, and it connects down in the center. Now, after all that was done, I was able to glue the leg assemblies up. So with those glued up, then I was able to peg my joinery. So I have another quick tip right over here. It talks about taking store-bought dowel stock, sizing it on a dowel plate, and then using it for your pegs for your joinery. So I've got 4 holes in total on the posts, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, pegging all this joinery, because this table, I'm hoping it's going to last a couple hundred years at least, and there's no reason for this joinery not to last a couple hundred years. So if the glue, for some reason, gives up 100 years from now, this peg joinery is going to keep everything in place. So that's a lot of fun. Once those guys are pounded in, flush cut them, or just a little bit proud of flush with a saw. Take a block plane, bring them down to their mating surface, so bring them nice and flush, do a little bit of sanding, and you got some great looking plugs. So, oh, and then one last section. So with all of that done, I then turn my attention to the top of the leg post. Now the leg posts are just a little bit too long on the top, so I needed to flush those up with a block plane down to the same surface level as the upper table supports. And I also sanded the trestle as well. Now I've done another quick tip covering this, which is sanding curved parts. So I'll have a link here in the cards as well as in the description down below. And basically I used that same 1/2 inch foam pad to sand the curve on this face as well as the round over on the top. And that worked really well. It's nice and smooth. Everything's still nice and round, just like I had created it using my jack plane. And with that done and all of this done, this base is ready for finish. So I do have a question of the week for you guys, and that is this. What would you have done, or what would you do to hold the tabletop in place to the trestle itself here? Bearing in mind that the trestle table is meant to be taken apart. So what type of joinery, mechanism, etc. would you have used to hold this together? Would you have done what I did, which is I'm going to use tapered dowels? Would you have used something else? Let me know, I'm curious. Leave those answers in the comments below. So that's pretty much it for this week. As always, please subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and hit that thumbs up button if you like this video. If you're watching this on Facebook, hit the like button, share your timeline, and head over to the MM Wood Studio page and like us there as well. And as always, have a great week in the shop.